The National Investor's motto is, you can get information anywhere, but here you get knowledge. And for well over 40 years now, Chris Temple has imparted that knowledge, an unparalleled, understandable, and useful take on the big picture of the markets and of our world. He has been out in front of what you see on the news every day on many themes. More, Chris has taken this macro knowledge and his unique analytical abilities to uncover unique investment opportunities. Often, he has guided his members to big winners in resources, biotech stocks, and more. His talents and connections often getting him into ground floor opportunities before they are discovered. Without further ado, here is Chris with today's topic.
Welcome in, folks. Today I'm joined by my friend Tony Reda. He is the co-founder with Ira Thomas, and he's the CEO as well of Tectonic Metals. Tony, how you doing?
I'm actually doing really good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. We finally got the best part of the year here in Florida. Not too hot, not too cold. It's pleasant.
Okay.
I wanted to catch up with Tony today, folks, because Tectonic put out news back at the beginning of the month to significantly expand their footprint in the part of the flat project in Alaska that they're working on. We're going to get into that. Before we do, just a few preliminaries. First off, that you see on the screen here, Tectonic symbol on the Venture Exchange in Toronto is TECT. And here in the US on the OTCQB, it's TETOF. Also take a second and look at this here on the screen as far as how to keep up with them on their website and so forth when they put out news and that type of thing. Secondly, Tony and or myself may be making what are construed as forward-looking statements. We want you to be aware of that. This slide, of course, is from their presentation. Now, we're going to stick to the updated news today, but if you've not done it before, and here's a picture on the screen of what you're looking for on my YouTube channel, make sure you go back and look at the interview I did with Tony just a few months ago that gives the broad overview of the flat project and how he came to be in possession of this, the great partners he's got with Alaska First Nations, a couple of big high-profile investors. I mean, it's a really, really cool story. And relative to the typical small exploration junior you're going to find these days, a lot of things have already been de-risked, not just with the management, the kind of project it's got and everything else. So if you've not done it before, go back and watch that. So today, we're going to move a step forward, as you just did, Tony, in coming out with that news on Alpha Bowl, because you significantly increased the purported footprint of Chicken Mountain and that resource altogether. Tell us about how you did that.
Well, we were always intrigued by this one portion of this property. And so when I say portion, for context, this is 99,000 acres, 20 kilometers in length. And there's no shortage of targets. And we had our eye on this target actually since as part of the acquisition. So it's called the Alpha Bowl area. And what made it intriguing or interesting, it's actually the source, or it hosts one of the most prolific placer producing gold creeks on our property, with 650,000 ounces of recorded placer production. And that number is touted by the United States Geological Survey, the Department of Natural Resources. So it's a real number. And the fact that we have this gold just shedding from this sort of hilltop, makes me wonder how big the bedrock source is. And it's obviously a great vector. You don't need to be a geologist to say, okay, where do you want to put your drill hole? If that gold is shedding, or that stream or creek is running off of that hilltop, chances are that could be the bedrock source. So that got us excited as far as like an exploration drill target. The interesting thing is, our property in its 40-year existence no one's ever drilled that portion. In addition to that, we did this geophysical survey, and it identified that it was an extension of our previously drilled area known as Chicken Mountain. So it was an extension. So we could kill a bunch of birds with one stone. Is the most prolific placer producing gold creek, possibly have the best part of the hard rock gold system? Well, the first hole that went into that target was returned 65 meters of 1.2 grams per ton. Now, at first blush, you might say, okay, that's pretty interesting, but there's a couple things to really extrapolate from that drill intercept. The drill hole was only 65 meters in length, so it was mineralized from top to bottom. It ended in 1.14 grams per ton gold, Within there was 6 meters of 6 grams and 1.5 meters of 21 grams. Now, based on NI 431 national compliancy, we have to take the average of the total assay interval. And so, not to get too technical, but we took the drilled samples. So you'll take only a section of it and you run it with the lab. We took another unique sample, and that one ran 65 meters of 2.2 grams with 5 meters of 18 grams and 1.5 meters of 65 grams per ton. So that's an assay laboratory certificate. I'm not sure if the market recognizes that, but that's real tangible gold. And so the fact that you can get it right off of the first drill hole tells us a couple things. A, our geos are pretty damn smart. B, are they really that smart that they can get lucky on a kilometer and a half long target with a 2 to 3 inch diameter hole, probably the width of this water bottle, and say, okay, pick the best spot to hit gold? Anytime in my experience, when you can hit gold on your first attempt, tells you that, A, your geos are smart, but B, the system is big and robust. And case in point, our first drill hole at Kaminak Gold Corporation, which we sold for $520 million, the first ever drill hole ever in its entire existence of that property came back 17 grams per ton over 15 meters. I said the exact same thing. Did we pick literally the best spot of the system? Well, that turned into a 5 million ounce gold system and a $520 million sale. Now that's we're very much at its infancy, but I'm always excited when I can get it right off the first hop, and also hitting high grade gold and the bedrock source of this 650,000 ounces of placer gold. So we know there's gold endowment, and then also it's a kilometer long extension of the known mineralization. So now we have 3 kilometers, right?
Right. So now you've gone from 2 kilometers to 3 kilometers, where you've got seemingly, when you get to it, significant enough work where you can come out with a pretty nice resource at some point potentially on this. But what's really cool about it, Tony, is I read the news. I mean, there were several things that jumped out. You just hit on a few of them, but you've mentioned before the 650,000 ounces historically of placer gold that was found. One of the questions I had, because it wasn't real clear, in these 60 some meter holes deep that you drilled when you stopped, were you really weren't arguably hitting the main source of this? I mean, you've got disseminated gold all over the place because you're drilling and hitting gold almost every single hole. You've got gold everywhere, and that's typical near the surface. The question is, if you go deeper, are you going to really find a proverbial mother lode potentially?
Yeah, so here's what gets me excited again. We've drilled 86 holes to date at this Chicken Mountain Alpha Bull target. Every hole has hit gold mineralization.
Wow.
That doesn't get you excited, then you know what? Maybe you should check out right now. But secondly, half of those holes ended in gold. And the deepest hole we've ever drilled is 428 meters. And the second deepest is 400 meters. And they both ended in gold mineralization. So with a 50% success rate that all your holes, regardless of the length, end in gold, and 100% drill success rate, I now ask you to imagine what would that, if this 65 meter long hole, if it was 200 meters long, is there a high probability that it runs the full 200 meters, 250 meters, 300 meters? And if you can this grade stays consistent, we're talking about 1.5 grams. So a 200 meter at 1.5 grams, that's you're on the road to a sizable deposit there.
Well, and also at that grade and with the type of material that you've had to date, that's assuming gold prices stay within a mile of where they've come recently, you're going to be minting money with something like that, because a lot of really good, successful open pit mines operate with grades a third of that or less. And they're doing well. And that one of the questions I had in the characterization, and I've shown on the screen here as we've been talking, the headline from the news that you put out recently. And I'd encourage you folks to go to Tectonic's website and read this in its entirety, especially if you have a little bit of aptitude about mining projects and geology and things like that, because there's a whole lot of juicy points here. Another one of them being the fact that you found a lot of this gold in the drilling recently is coarse gold. So again, unlike 40 clicks to the southwest of you, at Donovan,
Yeah.
where you've got refractory ore. It's a great project and it's a great deposit, but it's going to take a lot more work to get the gold
Hmm.
out of that stuff. Yours is like, in relative terms, taking candy from a baby. It's a lot of it's free gold. And
Yeah.
so did you really find that with all five of these holes too, that appears that the nature of the gold is the same as you had in the first 2 kilometer strike length?
Yeah, so this new area we haven't done any metallurgical testing
Okay.
in this specific area, but that drill hole, the 65 meter, was completely oxidized. And usually oxidized material can lend itself to heap leaching, which is the other extraction method that's been validated on the other side of the property. The fact that we're confident that it's not refractory like our neighbor Donlin to the southwest because Mother Nature's liberated the gold. So refractory ore means the gold is chemically bonded to the rock and can't be liberated unless you use intensive like oxidization or roasting, if you will, techniques that are artificial. And so if Mother Nature, which is natural and organic, can liberate the gold, there's no way in hell this thing's going to be refractory. It just doesn't make sense. And the fact that it's coarse gold too, usually flotation, gravity, or some depending on heat leach, sometimes can if it's really high grade gold, it might not be the most optimal, but nonetheless, it's free milling, and
Oh,
all signs point to something that can be easily extracted.
nice. So
Yeah.
with this addition with Alpha Bowl, this new discovery, you've significantly expanded the strike length. It seems to be the same kind of material, same kind of story that you could have
Mhm.
an analog of Kaminak or Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Whereas one of these days you might have a really nice, profitable, no brainer heap leach operation there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the intent at least. I mean,
Yeah.
again, all the boxes are ticking that we are dealing with something Fort Knox-ish. If to put context to the 3 kilometers, if you look at the Fort Knox pit or resource, it's produced 9 million ounces of gold. That happened. That milestone was achieved last year. Kinross owns that mine, and its strike length is 2 kilometers. So ours is 3 kilometers. Obviously, grade plays a role in it, and then the mining technique. But we're starting to see visibility for something that could be up and around that size. And that's just one intrusion or one potential deposit area. We have five others that we haven't even talked about yet, and some we haven't even got to ourselves just because the capital. We had to
Sure.
focus in on certain areas.
Nice problem to have, Tony. So
Yeah.
over the balance of 2025, what are
Yeah.
your mileposts that you're looking to do now with additional exploration?
Yeah, we definitely want to go back in with a diamond drill, do oriented diamond drilling to get real structural data in that alpha bowl area, and do a very comprehensive drill program focusing on alpha bowl and seeing can this drill hole or these drill holes, there's five of them, can we really flush that into a meaningful multi-million ounce gold deposit. Yes, it's an extension of Chicken Mountain, but we're going to hone in on this area, the grade, the tenor, just all the attributes that I mentioned earlier with the placer gold endowment. It behooves us to really focus in and hone in on this area. There will, at some point throughout this year, there will be another capital raise to fund and what we're hoping it will be a larger program. And then, depending on the capital injection into the company, we may deploy a couple other drills in some of the other areas of the property. So that's kind of the game plan. Right now, we're still educating people on the discovery, our shareholders, what it means, what the significance is. And I got to say, we've been seeing a lot of good inbound interest, and why not? I mean, like at any time a gold discovery happens, it garners market attention.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons for that inbound interest, which is a great
Mm,
point for you to make to segue in a couple other things as we wind down. Gold, of course, has cooperated. It's doing its job. We've had record
yeah.
prices recently and didn't really seem to want to pause too long at 3,000 an ounce. I think we may slug back and forth around here for a while. But as I've been telling people separately of late, and will continue to, there's a lot of reasons why, even if I'm questioning some of the base metal moves recently, especially in copper, as people know who have followed me. Gold, I think, is still all systems go. The other thing you've got going for you regionally and in the state of Alaska specifically is that apart from the fact that President Trump and his administration, led by Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, led by Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary, and others, not only are they looking to streamline permitting and give everybody a helping hand that's in extractive industries, but they've paid a special attention to the state of Alaska in a couple of
Mhm.
different respects. And I think one of the telltale signs of that is that we mentioned Donlin earlier. The owners of that project, the joint venture owners, just announced what, over 40 million more in exploration this year to
Yeah,
upsize
43
that.
million American. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the mood? I probably know the answer to this already, Tony, but the mood on the ground has got to be pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, yes, 100%. I think just to those White House executive orders, one of them was actually titled "Unleashing Alaska's Resource Potential."
Right.
And then the other one noted deregulation and critical minerals, but identified gold as a critical mineral, and that's fantastic from just a gold perspective. You have a government saying, "Hey, gold's now a critical mineral." It actually makes you wonder, why is that the case? I mean, I get it, but if that could somehow play a role in a bigger role, let's just say in with the Fed or with the U.S. government, I mean, or with the currency, who knows? That's another conversation. But what it tells us too is, like, I don't know if people realize this, but next to Nevada, Alaska is the next highest gold producing state in the entire United States. That is remarkable.
Yeah.
And, we have 7 producing mines in Alaska. Not all of those are gold mines, but there's a lot of, really high quality deposits, tier 1 assets such as Donlin that are ready to move forward. Donlin, for example, has all of its permits except for one. Will this White House administration move that forward? I mean, you have a 40 million ounce gold deposit. I mean, maybe the government wants a piece of that. I don't know. But Alaska is definitely a place that is blessed with very rich resources. They understand mining, they understand oil and gas, and also the major mining companies, especially with gold at $3,000, they don't need to go further afield. I mean, they can find homegrown resources, was also when the White House executive orders initiative about focusing on critical minerals to reduce our dependency on foreign countries, to make everything homegrown. And we're seeing the major step up as well. So I think Alaska is going to continue to shine, and it's definitely going to have a positive impact on all the projects, including ours in Alaska.
Oh, I agree. And, we got there are issues that I've been talking about just in recent days since the latest executive order, where we're going to have the best permitting tailwind of our lifetimes as a matter of
Mm-hmm.
policy, and we've never seen something this good before as far as that
Mm-hmm.
environment. But there are still economic challenges to deal with a lot of these commodities, where they still in the U.S. are uneconomic at current prices for things like cobalt, nickel, and lithium, and so
Yeah.
forth. Happily, that's not the issue with gold. Gold,
Yeah.
and there's projects that have become obscenely profitable of late that people sat on.
Mm-hmm.
Even back when gold was 1,500 or 2,000, all of a sudden at three, it's like, holy cow, this is great. So
Yeah.
you got two great tailwinds. You got gold's tailwind, and you got with policy setting generally, but I think Alaska in particular, you're in a great place.
Yeah, yeah, and then, I mean, the third tailwind, I think the producers, given the political turmoil throughout the world, and institutions just getting tired of risk as
Yeah,
well, so they, keeping it vanilla, focused on homegrown. So I think that's another tailwind as well.
can't do any
And I
better.
don't, I think, I remember just a quick thing, because as you're talking there, when I joined Kaminak in 2005, my first foray into the mineral space, I went to a conference called the Hard Assets in San Francisco.
Yeah,
It was one of the preeminent mineral conferences. We high-fived each other because gold hit $400.
400. I remember that.
2005. When we sold Kaminak in 2016, gold was flirting with like $1,300 an ounce, if I recall correctly. We published one of our PEAs using 1250 gold, and 1250 gold. And so the point being is that was 2016. That's not even 10 years. Now we're looking at $3,000 an ounce. If we can maintain this, I mean, gold is capturing the attention of the broader investor, the generalist. Gold's outperformed the S&P, the JDXJ. And it's funny, I'm getting inbound from traditional investors. One actually just this morning say, "Hey, I want to talk to you about the mining space, about gold in particular, in your company. We don't know a whole lot about mining, but your project and your company's been flagged as something we should look at." So imagine when all these generalists start moving down the food chain and these stocks start re-rating. I mean, I think it's just a matter of time.
Well, it is, and my favorite saying, as you might remember, Tony, is that when that happens, when generalist investors really do start to come back in, and it's only now just beginning, it's like a 300-pound man jumping into a kiddie-sized wading pool. Because when you look at the total universe and market cap of all of the precious metal stocks, it's a pimple on a flea compared to the broad market. And so it's not going to take much. And it will happen again. It is happening in fits and starts. I had a producing company the other day tell me that they're getting the same kind of phone calls, people looking to, they want to buy gold bullion, they want to buy doré. And these are not the usual suspects that they usually deal with, on the bottom of the food chain. These are people out of left field who want to get their hands on gold. And you and I need to talk separately about all the different theories about why the government added gold to the list. I've got a couple. We'll have to do that. But hey, folks, for present purposes, Tectonic is a real outlier in the universe of junior exploration companies. Again, if you've not done it, please go back and look at the video Tony and I did a few months ago. I've also got a written report, not updated yet for the Alpha Bowl News, but it gives you all the rest of it. If you've not seen that, email me. Here's my contact information again here to get that. And keep in touch with Tectonic. I mean, this is a great project. You've got a great partner with Doyon Limited, the Alaska Native Corporation, the other big investors you've got. This is this kind of a thing with all of the different ingredients that you're going to learn about as you take a dive into Tectonic. You don't find juniors very often with all of these different things all working in sync. And so take a look at it. Tony, thanks for your time today, and look forward to the next news.
Thank you for the support and interest and the opportunity to share a bit about Tectonic.
For much more of the National Investor's cutting-edge content and actionable investment opportunities, make sure to subscribe to Chris's free content at nationalinvestor.com. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel too. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.